Syrian people are incredibly diverse. For example, when you go to the northern regions of the country, people typically have higher levels of ancient Anatolian DNA. And when you go to the east, people typically have higher levels of Mesopotamian and Natufian-like admixture. What's really interesting about the Syrians is they are a combination of the three Stone Age populations that shaped the Levant. We are going to look at the Syrian genome through a variety of different time periods to understand who these people are from a genetic perspective. Over here, I've got a Stone Age DNA breakdown of the average Syrian. And interestingly, what we see is 27% of their DNA is Natufian related. The Natufians were a proto-agriculturalist culture from the Levant who lived between 15,000 and 11,500 years ago. Today, this genetic component is found highest in southern Arabian populations. But if you look closely at this breakdown over here, what you find is 36% of the average Syrian genome is Anatolian Neolithic farmer derived. The Anatolian Neolithic farmers lived just north of the Natufians. Around 9,000 years ago, they begin to migrate into Europe and the Levant, and by entering into the latter, they mix with the Natufians and form a new genetic component known as Levant Neolithic farmer. Levant Neolithic farmer ancestry makes up around 40 to 50% of the Syrian genome, and is a characteristic signal found in populations throughout West Asia and parts of southern Europe. The Stone Age ended approximately 7,000 years ago in the Levant and was soon followed by the Copper Age. The Copper Age was characterized by mass migrations of Copper Age people rich in Iranian Neolithic and Caucasian hunter-gatherer ancestry. Over the course of thousands of years, a distinctive Iranian component is brought into the region, and hence why around 20% of the Syrian ancient ancestry is Iranian Neolithic in origin. The mixing of all these groups would eventually set the foundations of the genetic ancestry of the Bronze Age Levant, eventually formulating groups such as the Amorites. The Amorites were a distinctive northwest Semitic-speaking population of Canaanite-related stock, who lived in the northwest part of the Levant during the Bronze Age. 5,000 years ago, they ruled an empire stretching across Mesopotamia, the Levant, and parts of Egypt. Using techniques similar to what I offer in my deep ancestry analysis, which you can find in the description of this video, I have performed a Bronze Age statistical comparison of the Syrian genome against relevant Bronze Age samples found within the G25 database. From these calculations, what we can see is that the Syrians derive a significant portion of their ancestry, between 50 to 70%, from groups genetically similar to the Bronze Age Amorites. Across the board, Syrian Christians have the highest genetic similarities to these northern Bronze Age Levantine groups. For a full breakdown of these calculations, be sure to join my Discord community, also linked within the description of this video. Now, a question I get asked all the time is, are modern Syrians related to the ancient Assyrians? The Assyrians were an ancient Mesopotamian civilization that flourished between the late Bronze and Iron Ages. They were expert military tacticians who conquered vast swathes of the region, including parts of Anatolia, Levant, Egypt, and Iran. However, the modern Syrians are not the same people as the ancient Assyrians. Over here I've got a Bronze Age genetic distance chart, and what we can see is the modern populations most closely related to ancient Assyrians are in fact groups like the modern day Assyrians as well as the Armenians. After this, the region was then conquered by the Persians, the Greeks, and finally the Romans, who named their northern province of the Levant as Coel Syria. Once the Roman Empire split into east and west, the area of modern-day Syria came under the jurisdiction of the Roman East, known as the Byzantine Empire. By the 7th century AD, with the weakening of the Byzantines, the area was conquered by the Islamic Rashidun Caliphate. Amongst Syrian Muslims, this Arabian DNA component peaks at around 30% and is particularly high in the eastern and southern parts of the country. After this, the region was invaded by European crusaders, who founded multiple principalities in the area, but would ultimately leave minimal genetic input. The region was then reconquered by the Ayyubid dynasty of Saladin, and after a brief incursion by the Mongols in the 11th century, they would then be conquered by the Mamluk caliphs of Egypt. By the 14th century, the area would come under the control of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans would facilitate a cosmopolitan culture in the area, which is why it's during this period we start to see major foreign admixture amongst the Syrians from groups such as the Egyptians, Circassians, Armenians, Kurds, Turks, and Greeks. These migrations for the most part encompass the Syrian genetic origin. The Syrian people exhibit great diversity, but are united by their shared heritage to one of the world's oldest historic regions.
This video was sponsored by the Attention Academy and created by one of its students. The Attention Academy teaches people how to create captivating content.
If you're interested in learning more about how to create captivating AI content, make sure to check out the video linked on my profile.